Hi, this is Apoorv.
Hey, this is Arish. We have been learning ways to bring harmony in different aspects of our lives, such as mental health, physical health, financial health. Along the way, we noticed more and more people were keen on learning from us.
Each week, we discuss topics like mental health, focus, social skills to help you better navigate through life. So, join us in this podcast as we navigate through the many complexities of our modern life.
Hey, Pravin, thanks for joining us for the podcast. And can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure, Arish. Happy to help. Happy to join you guys. And yeah, so I think I have been a data scientist for almost 6, 7 years. I've been in the data industry for since 2013, since I joined Mu Sigma. And I think over the last 3, 4 years, after leaving the job at Mu Sigma, I've been running my own agency and my own self-employed business where I get my own clients online and I work with them. So data analytics is the bread and butter and my main business at the moment. And along with this, I have a few more affiliate blogs that I run, and I'm venturing into some more new businesses as the ecosystem evolves and as my own interests evolve. So yeah, that's a quick.
What I always see you do, and whenever I follow you online, you are always traveling. Like either you're in Europe or you're in Thailand or you're somewhere in Vietnam. So can you tell us a little more about your travel history?
Yeah, sure. So I think social media amplifies what the good and the bad. So I think I'm not always traveling. That's definitely not that. I am not. So the people that I meet when I travel are like people who travel 11, 12 months of the year, right? So that they are people who really, really travel. So I definitely am not even close to that. I have maintained a good ratio. I've been doing 4 to 6 months of travel every year, or around max 3 to 4 months when I was starting out from 2016, 17, and now it's been almost 3 to 4 to 5 months max. In a year, I make sure that I'm traveling and properly living in different countries. So this is basically done so that I have like I'm actually living that location independent life, and I'm trying to improve my productivity also in many ways. And of course, I have some clients in different countries. Most of my clients are not in India, and so I get to meet the like-minded people. I get to attend great events. Like I was just coming from Thailand and I was attending a very very famous guy's marketing event. So that was a really nice insightful event I got to attend and try to do. Yeah, so 4 to 5 months is max in a year. I don't do more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something which is really interesting, and which is why we have you on the podcast today, because you keep traveling, you keep moving places. You don't have a fixed office, even though you take up places, as I understand from your posts. Yeah, you take up workplaces, but usually you keep traveling. Most of your clients are uh, not in India, and you work remotely a lot. So that is one of the reasons that we have you on the podcast today, to help the rest of us who has been kind of trained for months and years to go to office, do the work from there, and come back home. And suddenly we have all now assumed to adapt to this new situation of working from home and working remotely, trying to coordinate everything. So that is why we have you on the podcast, to kind of help us navigate through this situation. So before we get into the specifics, help us understand what is the mindset that you keep so that you have a productive day, so that while you're working from home, you can still focus on your work.
Right. So I think so mindset, it really depends. So I mean, are you talking from a business or a job perspective? Because that's the thing, right? I mean, there are many people who are not really motivated in their jobs, right? So it's very tough to even. I mean, they don't really like their jobs or stuff like that. And in business, it really depends what type of business you're doing. And then there's a mindset of what you should have mindset right now. So these are three different types of mindset. So which mindset, are you referring to right now?
So let's go over it one by one. Let's start with the fact that you consider the main mindset that we need to have right now.
Sure. So right now, I have been following, and this is a philosophy that I've been following for last 2 to 3 years almost. It's called it's a very famous ancient Greek philosophy that's been around for more than 10,000 years, which is why I follow it. It's called Stoicism. Okay, and so the thing is about this, and the main crunch of this philosophy is that you should focus on things that you can control and ignore everything else. Now, for example, what can you control? You can control what you do in a single day, what your activities are. You can't even control your body. Your body might, you might get the virus, you might get an illness, but you just cannot control that. You can control by staying at home. You can control by staying fit at home, having good food, uh, having video calls with your family or being with your family. But you cannot control the news. You cannot control how fast something is spreading, some imaginary thing, or how stupid or bad the news is. These are all external circumstances. So the main crux of stoicism is to focus and stay with the things that you can control and completely ignore everything else. Now, this is the main underlying philosophy. So that means switching off news and not watching the news, removing people from social media completely, taking a break from people who share negative things, and only having a complete positive bias. Now, there are many social media channels that share positive news. Now, I love that, because news and clickbait is the whole idea about that is to the way it runs is to create fear and panic, and by more clicks. That's the metric. News is doing a great job this time, at this these days, because they are getting a huge amount of clicks and likes and shares because of all the negativity around. But I would say ignore all of that and just focus on your one day, 1 hour, one habit, and things that you can control. That's the current mindset that you should have at this time.
All right, that's really helpful to understand kind of the mindset that we should be having right now. What are some of the daily habits that you have set in place, or what are some of the tools or techniques that you use which helps us kind of maintain that work life balance? Because as a person who goes to office, they can easily separate the work. Okay, I'll do the work at office, I'll come back, this is my home. But at home, the two worlds are kind of blurring now, which is adding more stress or creating a situation of more procrastination and things like that. So how, what do you suggest
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
in that
Yeah,
situation?
so I think that's a common problem. Even I faced this a lot in 2016 when I left my job on Independence Day 2016. And the thing was, for the first few months was working from home, and it was a completely different experience. I was just since you've also worked at Mu Sigma, you know how the noisy atmosphere was in office, and the whole scenario that we had, and going from there to working at home. So going from there to working at home was quite a big shift for me. So a few things I did was, of course, in the early days I could not even afford going out to a co-working space or buying a space for my own thing, because those had high fees. And in the early days I did not want to burn cash at all, because I was saving it for a rainy day. So what I did was, I created a very simple habits and hacks that I could found. And let's not talk about the, I think everyone has read 20 articles on how best to work from home or productivity tips. So let's ignore the what the popular things are. Let me go a little more deep into psychology and give you something which is not properly available online, right? So here's
Sure,
one thing.
sure.
Here's a few things that I use personally. One is dressing up. So you I was tempted to work in my pajamas, work like with most minimal clothes, or as a chill out thing. But I would instead try alternate days with completely dressing up. Like, I'm going to an office, I'll wear a shirt and a pant, or I'll wear something that I would wear outside. And I would go to a completely different part of my room, which is not my bed, or not where I'm sleeping. If you have a different room, awesome. But different room where you can work, that is the best. But if you do not have that, just create a different space with a table or a chair or anything. Just, it should not be the bed where you sleep, because that would destroy you. You would not be able to focus, because your mind is adapted very deeply to connect with sleep or connect with relaxation at that time. So you have to completely have a very, number one is clear separation of workspace and relaxation space. It's like a breakout zone which we had in offices, right? So
Yeah.
you go there to just chill, right? So that's the thing. So have a breakout zone in your house, and then you go to a different zone to work. That's number one. And the number two is dressing up. Now, this is an experiment that you can just do yourself in this quarantine, which would be a fun thing, because you would have so many clothes, but you're just not going out anymore. So just try out different clothes and
Yeah.
see which makes you most productive. It's like a fun experiment that you can run on your own. For me, I realized that if I wear something which I do not usually wear at home, I'm most productive. Like a shirt. I don't really wear shirts at home, but if I wear a shirt, or if I
Hmm.
wear, let's say, jeans, or anything that I would
Hmm.
wear when I'm going out, right? Instead of just sitting in my PJs, or just not wearing anything, I'm just more productive in
Hmm.
clothes which I would wear when I'm going out. So that was a very simple hack. And clear separation is definitely another one. Coming to habits, habits is I've written a huge blog on this. I'm using smart devices to drive my habits these days. So it
All right.
definitely, I'll share that blog. We can even add that to your podcast links in the show
Definitely.
notes. And the main thing is, what I've done is they all build up on top of each other. So one is, of course, working out. I'm even working out or running right now with all the social distancing and clear space and all that. And then meditation is huge for me. But I mean, these are things that I do personally. I would not. I mean, people can define their own habits. The whole thing is that it should build on top of each other. You should just never miss twice. That's a very famous rule of James Clear, who wrote the Atomic Habits book, where he says you will come to a day where you will miss your habits, but just try not to miss twice. That's all. It's a very simple thing. And I always remember the rule. I know I will have a bad day. Like yesterday, I did not meditate, but today I did 10 minutes of Wim Hof breathing. He's a famous guy, and that meditation app is mind blowing if you want to check
Hmm.
out. So yeah, I would recommend for people who to stay a little fit and meditate. That does help in work and focus. But if that's not your thing, find your thing and just do that.
All right, man. That sounds amazing, and we'll definitely include that post, that blog post in our podcast. And we also had an episode about habits,
Awesome.
so we are also kind of exploring the whole area of building habits and things like that.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
So you have been working remotely for quite some time, and as I know that most of your teammates or your clients are working remotely as well, or they are not directly in touch with you. So in times like these, most of us had the habit of working in a team. If we have a doubt, we can directly go to someone and ask them, or we can directly, you know, chat about some clarifying some doubt over lunch. So now the question arises, how do we maintain a balance of communication while also not you know keeping the communication to the limited, so that we have enough time to work?
Right, right. So I think like how can we have really, not very limited meetings and have the highest productivity, right? Highest outputs. Is that what you're asking, Arish?
Yeah, so basically I'm asking, how do we improve our communication during this working
Right, right. So
remotely?
I think this is a great time for, communication is, I think, a number one key in remote teams. Without that, I would not even like in interviews. When my clients interview me or when I interview anyone for joining my team, I would focus on communication more than any other skill actually, because in remote and especially right now, it's so key when you're not able to see people. So here's a few things what I do. What I do is I start with email exchanges, and I see how succinct and how precise are they in their conversations in email, and how many back and forth it takes uh, to deliver a clear message. Right. That's a very important thing I would have, and I would maintain two platforms. One is like an IM kind of thing. Let's say it could be anything from WhatsApp, Slack, Skype, or anything where you can just send a message and expect a response in a few hours. And then email is like a long term thing, which is asynchronous. So in that, I would just send an email, but I would not expect anything off. I would say that the other teams can respond this week or in 24 hours or in 48 hours, but there's no clear, I'm not expecting a response in like a few hours. And I make that very clear with my team and with my clients that for emails, a clear SLA is like 1 or 2 days. I will take my own sweet time and respond whenever when I get to it, because I don't touch email before the evenings or late noon, and I would focus on what is more important rather than communication. If they need anything urgent, please use Skype, Slack, or WhatsApp, or whatever IM that we have decided on before, for a very urgent or quick thing that you want in a few hours. And those messages I do check every 2-3 hours, and I would respond once in 2-3 hours, right? So having that clear guideline set with everyone in the team and clients is very important. And then another hack for meetings was that I absolutely hate meetings, to be honest, because most meetings are unproductive and not needed. You can technically even do meetings over a few emails or a few messages,
Definitely.
if it's very precise and well put, right? So I focus in I use Google Calendar and G Suite. So in that, there's a very nice option to have 15-minute meetings, or convert the 30 or 1 hour slots to 25 minutes or 45 minutes, right? So I will highly recommend having these weird timings of 15 minutes or 20-minute calls, so that it's clear that I am packed. I am only available for this small slot, and as soon as it's over, I'm out. I have 20 more things to do. I am so busy, and people should be focused on more effective things, not just communications or calls all day. So yeah, that's I would highly recommend having just these small 15-25 minute calls.
All right, man. I think that covers most of what I wanted to know from you.
Awesome. I think there's one more important tip I wanted to add. So for I think scheduling your own day or Google Calendar is that uh, your Pomodoros. Yeah. So Pomodoros and time blocking has been the number one thing that has helped me, in any type of doing work. So Pomodoro is nothing but a 25-minute time block. Like, I'm going to finish this podcast in 25 minutes. So we both have a clear time block. I have set it in my calendar, and you also had sent me a Zoom link, and we are here for 25 minutes. And as soon as it's over, I'm off, right? And so clearly you can do this for all your day, for 25 minutes and for 50 minutes, for many big tasks or small tasks that you have. And dividing it across all your day really helps you arrange your day. And one of the best tools I use is just a time blocker from Chrome plugin. I'll share the link for that, and an amazing tool called FocusMate that I recently shared on one of my posts is it's a video app in which you'll be put on a video call with someone, and you decide the task. It's a 50-minute video block, and you just do the task, and the other person can see you at all times. But we're focused on the task. We're not talking. We just spoke for a minute at the start. We said we're going to do this, and we're focused, and we just check in at the 49th, 50th minute as soon as the call is over. That's it. So that's like one of the best apps I've ever used, and highly recommend it for, whenever you're not feeling like working and you want someone to be accountable, because it uses deep science of accountability, Pomodoro, and very beautiful platform for you to actually get shit done finally. So yeah.
Hey man, thanks for the additional tips. This has been a really productive podcast, to be honest, and really thanks for coming for the podcast and giving us your time.
Sure, man. Happy to help.
Hello, guys. Thank you all for listening. If you did like that episode, do share it with people who you think might be facing similar issues in their life. If you have any comments or feedbacks regarding our episode, you could drop them to us on any of our social media pages, links to which will be posted in the description of this episode. You could also email us at info@thecharmingbuddha.com.